right, what's up guys? Here we are, back at a very familiar location, Stones Casino, Sacramento, California. One of my favorite casinos in all the land. This is my third time here. This time we're here for the Run It Up weekend here at Stones. 5 nights of tournaments, cash games, streaming, commentary, food, beverages, fun and friends, and actually this is already the second night. Today is Thursday. And when I say night, I mean morning / afternoon. Yesterday, my first day here, flew in yesterday from Las Vegas, and let's see what happened yesterday. Yesterday we played a tournament. We played a charity tournament. The tournament was $75 buy-in plus $25 add-on for the kids, for the charity event, for the Lily Putt charity event. And very good news, I cashed the event. I finished in, I want to say, 14th place, 12th place, something like that. Good for a min cash of $122, I think. That's the good news. The bad news is I had to rebuy, and I actually entered it twice. So still lost like $78, but the additional good news is that one rebuy means 2 donations to the charity, $50 to charity. So somebody bought me a couple of beers, consider it very break even or plus EV for the kids. No cash games yesterday, just did have a about an hour and a half of meet and greet time over at the restaurant back there. By the way, check out this new, this brand new hooded t-shirt that we're rocking. Check that out, bam! My favorite item in the store at the moment. Right, so that brings us to day 2 of 5 days here at Run It Up weekend at Stones. Today, the big event, the most expensive event, the Thursday Thriller, $1,000 buy-in, $500 bounties. That's gonna kick off at 2 p.m., which is in about 20 minutes from now. So I'm gonna hop into that. We're gonna hope for the best. If that goes subpar, commentary booth, and after commentary booth, cash games. Plenty to get involved with here at Stones Casino. So, tournament now. I will update you shortly on that, and we'll see how we do.
All right guys, using this beautiful lighting here at the Stones Live Poker setup to bring you an update. It is the end of the 8th, I think the 8th level, which means no more rebuys after this break that we are currently on. So that means I'm in for 1 bullet, which is great. And further good news, I have some hands to bring to you guys to report on the action thus far. Start us off at the 100-300 level with a 300 big blind ante. There's a short stack player who limps in from under the gun, and next to act is Jason Somerville in the under the gun +1 position, and he raises it up, ISOs the limper to I believe 1300, folds around to me, and I'm in the big blind with pocket aces. So since this is a bounty event and the under the gun player is super short, I don't want to discourage him from coming into the pot. We want to bring him in and put his bounty and his chips at risk. So I decided to flat call here, and the under the gun player calls as well. Flop comes rather favorable for these pocket aces. It comes ace high, rainbow. So I check it, and action ends up checking all the way through. Turn is a deuce, which brings it back to a flush draw, and I check it again, hoping someone brings some action into this hand, into this pot. And good news, the under the gun player goes ahead and jams his entire stack in there. Jason folds next to act, and we have an easy call here with the nuts. Under the gun player, turns out he has 7 deuce, I think, of diamonds. So he's drawing dead. We're gonna scoop this spot, and we get our first bounty, so that's $500. So when we win that hand, we are halfway covering the buy-in of this tournament. So $500 cash in our pocket for that hand. In the next interesting hand, we fast forward all the way to the 500, 1,000 blind level, again with a 1,000 big blind ante. And there's a player who is in early position, somewhat short stacked, got about 14 big blinds, I think, who jams all in. The small blind calls, and we look down at king deuce of spades in the big blind. Again, with that $500 bounty available from the early position player who jammed all in, think we should make the call here. You have to play pretty wide ranges, I think, when there's this $500 bounties in play. So I make the call, and we're seeing a flop three ways, which again comes favorable for us. It comes 8 deuce deuce rainbow. Small blind checks, and I decide to slow play a little bit since the board is about as dry as it gets. Try and find a card that will improve the small blind player. So I check it back. Turn is a 9 of clubs. Again, backdoor flush draw. Small blind checks to me again. Time to put out a bet, and put out a small bet of 11,000. Small blind thinks for a little while before folding. Turns out we are up against the early position players' pocket jacks. So only 2 outs to fade, and in fact we do fade those outs, and we collect another bounty. So that's another $500 in our pocket, cash money, and we are now free rolling basically this event minus $80. Buy-in was $1,080. We have $1,000 worth of bounties in our pocket. So basically free rolling this event going forward, which is yeah, always nice. One more interesting hand before getting back and returning after this break is over. Playing the same blind level here, 500, 1,000. I open up 8-6 of hearts from early position. Folds around to the small blind who puts in a 3-bet. I believe he makes it somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,600, maybe 5,800. We do cover him, and anytime we're in a situation where we cover the opponents, again, that's the spot where we can collect a bounty. So I'm gonna make a loose call here, and we go heads up to a flop in which we make middle pair. Some backdoor draws as well available to us. So my opponent puts out a C-bet, I think of around 6,100, and I believe he has somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,000 remaining. Gonna go after that bounty. We're never folding, and with those $500 available up for grabs if we knock them out, I just decided to jam it all in there. And my opponent thinks for a while before folding. So not quite as climactic, a little bit anticlimactic compared to some other hands, but happy to pick up those chips as well. Went a little bit card dead this last level just before break, so not quite as many chips as previous levels and as I would like, but 2 bounties in our pocket and still alive. 18 players remaining, 56 entrants total. We'll see what happens.
All right, guys, bad news. You see me standing here away from the poker table. That means we are out of chips. We got it in good, we got it in with pocket 6s, but we only had, I want to say, 13 blinds, 13 and a half big blinds. So we jammed from early position with pocket 6s, folds all the way around to the big blinds. Mr. Rated GTO, Ricky himself, Ricky Guan, calls in the big blind with 10-4 of clubs, which is probably somewhat straightforward. I mean, it might look pretty borderline / terrible, but you gotta remember, when you're getting $500 for every person you knock out, you can call super wide for that extra equity, that cash money. So he's a big stack. He obviously covers me, and he makes the call and flops a flush. So we're drawing basically dead on the flop. That's that. But like I said, we knocked out 2 people. We got 2 bounties, and that's $1,000 in our pockets. So we lose $80 in the tournament. Basically break even. So yeah, now what? Now I think I'm gonna go hop into the commentary booth. We're gonna go do some commentating, and then probably some cash games after that. Sad face, but good friends here. Always good friends at Stones.
That's right, now you can just hang out and relax.
Have some beers.
Have some beers.
What are you having?
I'm having Bailey's. That's what I'm starting off with.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-caster from yesterday.
The vlog is coming in.
He's vlogging while we're streaming.
That's true.
Hello.
Hello.
What up?
Hello, Jason.
Stones, we're here with our favorable apparel.
Looking good. Nice hat.
That's right.
What's up? Everyone say hi to the vlog.
Representing. There we go.
Alright guys, time to get back to the poker. Commentary was fun, but now hopping into a cash game that is going to play out on the live stream. We're going to play 5-5-10, and should be a pretty interesting lineup. We got a couple of guys from the team running it up, behind the scenes stuff, and a few locals here, and Rain Delay, who you might know from Jamin Burton's vlogs as well. I'm going to start this game with a $2,000 stack, see how it goes, whether there's a need for an add-on. Knowing my live stream cash game history, there could be, but let's think positive, shall we?
What's up, everyone? We're back at Run It Up Stones, live from Stones Gambling Hall in Sacramento, California. We have a very special cash game for you guys. 5-5-10, pretty high stakes, no limit hold'em with Andrew Neeme.
I'm super excited about this. First of all, yeah, to have Andrew Neeme, this is his bread and butter. You know, he plays tournaments. He says he's not a tournament player. High stakes live cash game is Andrew's bread and butter, so I'm really excited. Plus,
yeah, so we're on a 30-minute delay.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's already a bunch of action going on. We're on the river.
All right, guys, just to add a little bit of additional commentary in to this clip here and another couple of clips, couple of interesting hands that went down on the live stream cash game 5-5-10 no limit hold'em. This is the very first hand, one of the very first few hands from the stream game, and the broadcast is still getting set up here, so they didn't catch this hand, but it was kind of interesting. I opened up with pocket nines, I think from early position, and Dan, Mr. Rain Delay, you guys might know him from Jamin Burton's vlogs. Rain Delay there calls in the big blind. Fill up ourselves a set with pocket nines. I go ahead and c-bet the flop, and Dan calls. Turn brings a third diamond. It's the jack of diamonds, and Dan goes ahead and leads out. So with 3 to a flush, I just go ahead and flat call. River doesn't change anything, and once again, Dan leads the river. So I just go ahead and flat call again. I don't want to over-rep my hand and overvalue my hand. It seems like Dan should have a flush here most of the time, or a bluff. And sure enough, after I go ahead and call, Dan has a bluff. Dan's a very tough player. He's going to put a lot of pressure on people, but not too much to be done here. Pretty straightforward hand. I just go ahead and flat call down, and we win a hand early on in this session.
Maybe Stanley joining the cash game as well, Ricky's friend. Kevin, if I just showed up one day, you know, I just went, you know, here I am in Calgary. I just showed up at the door. I was like, you know what? I want to just play some online poker.
Dude.
Is there like a couch for me, you know?
No, we would give you a better treatment than the couch.
Wow.
I would get you set up very quickly.
Nice.
So here we see an early position raise from Jimmy with the pocket tens. JL makes a flat call with his pocket jacks, which is kind of surprising, but that allows me to come in with the 3 deuce of hearts from the big blind. I just complete for the additional $25, maybe a little bit too loose, but no one likes a nit, so I make the call. We flop ourselves a flush draw, and action checks over to Jimmy, who decides to c-bet his pocket tens. Maybe a little bit surprising with 2 overcards, 2 to tens, but that is the action that he chooses. Over now to Mr. JL with middle set here, and it's tough. It's tough for us because JL is going to be very inclined to go ahead and put in a raise here with his middle set. That makes us a little bit easy of a decision because we have a 3 high flush draw. There's going to be a lot of times where JL is going to have a bigger flush draw, and if I happen to have like ace 10 of hearts, I'm obviously going to continue, but with the 3 high flush draw, just got to let it go.
Out of the way too.
Yeah, we could have had some fireworks there, a set versus a flush draw, but based on the multi-way action. Also, from Andrew's perspective, you have to be really careful with weak flush draws in multi-way pots.
Yeah.
Because when you do make your flush, often you can be dominated and lose a huge pot.
Yeah.
If that was a heads-up pot, Andrew's going to stick around with his 3 high flush draw, but your small flush draws lose value in multi-way pots for sure.
Andrew
so.
cold calls 3 high flush. Jimmy behind him with a 10 high flush calls. Yeah. It's just such a bad spot. I didn't bet anything, but okay. I think we'll get it done.
There was a promise, though.
There was a promise.
Yeah,
there was a promise.
That's worth more than money, Jason.
It's worth more. That's true. That is true. 2019. It's coming.
Back to the action here. These gentlemen are sharing 4 cards to a straight flush. Well, Andrew flat or 3-bet. He decides to go for the 3-bet. I kind of like it out of the small blind.
All right, some decent action to be found in this hand. Mike comes in for a standard button raise with his king jack suited, and we look down at queen 9 suited in the small blind. It's definitely a playable hand, but I like to put in 3-bet here from the small blind. Playing out of position, not very fun. The button can have a pretty wide range here. Think about all the hands like jack 9 offsuit, ace 4 offsuit, things that we can put a lot of pressure on pre-flop where we're just going to win it pre-flop. But him having king jack suited, not going to be one of those hands. He's going to want to see a flop.
Yeah, for sure. There are a lot of flops here where we could get some action. $305 in the middle. And that is one of them. Holy moly.
Wow.
This is insane, you guys.
Wow.
Man,
Poor
Andrew.
Andrew.
Andrew is just so crushed here.
He thinks he loves this flop.
Mike hasn't.
Flop looks fantastic from my perspective. I'm not aware at this point that my opponent has king jack suited, but we flop second nut flush draw plus a gutter ball. So happy to put in a c-bet here. We can represent a lot of hands, a lot of ace high hands, pocket jacks, all sorts of stuff going on. So I go ahead and put out pretty standard c-bet here. Mike's not obviously going to go anywhere, so he makes the call.
It's his range. He's probably just going to call. This
He has
is
to be a
spicy.
little concerned
If you're an
about-
Andrew fan, you don't want to see a club. Oh my goodness!
The 10 is the card you want to see if you're an Andrew fan.
Turn is an absolute beauty. I was a little surprised because I usually don't find these types of cards in live stream cash games. So we turn the effective nuts here. Sure, we could be up against a king queen, but we have a queen, so that makes it a little bit less likely. I'm going to go ahead and put some more money into this pot. I decided to not go for the too big of sizing because I feel like there's very few river cards that I'm not going to like. We have a club draw and we have a straight already, so I want my opponent to continue with whatever he has. In hindsight, I think I still could have bet a little bit bigger because there are some chances that my opponent is going to have ace high hearts here, and we want to charge the maximum versus those holdings. So I could have sized up slightly, but put some more money in, and my opponent calls once again.
Call here by Mike.
If we see a club, we're going to have blood.
Club is going to be stacks.
No.
No club. But the heart does come, though, which doesn't change a ton, but it is a little scary now for Mike.
River's the 6 of hearts, so it's not exactly my favorite card. My opponent could have ace high hearts and could have gone turn and river flush. So not in love with it, but still planning on putting some more money in here, charging a wide variety of hands. Lots of 2 pairs my opponent could have. He could potentially have some sets here, as well as just some top pair hands. I decided to size down a little bit, also because if I do bet and my opponent jams, it's going to be really bad if I choose a big sizing and that happens. But if I bet small, there's some chance that my opponent could have just the ace of hearts and end up turning that hand into a bluff. So I think I want to size down. And if my opponent does jam, then I can feel a little bit more inclined to call.
It looks like right about that exact
Looks
range.
like 480.
Yep, 480. And now I think Mike can get away from this hand here. Raise, re-raise, call, and then bet, call, bet, call. Andrew hasn't really sized up his bets, though, that much. Look, it was 145 pre, 165 flop, 320 on the turn, and then only 480. Hasn't really gone up that much street over street. Andrew looks really strong. Let's talk about the hands Andrew can have, assuming he has a strong hand. He could have ace-ace, could have jack-jack, kind of tough but possible. Could have king-queen. King-queen makes a lot of sense, actually, as played. 10-10, possible, not super likely, but could be.
Could have ace-jack. You could
have ace X
king
of
of hearts,
hearts.
ace queen of hearts,
Yep.
ace 10 of, oh, sorry, you can't have ace 10 of hearts.
But
You
even
have-
ace 9 of hearts or
Yeah.
ace 4 of hearts, like all those hands make sense. And as far as bluffs go, like
I can't imagine a bluff.
there's not too many bluffs that make a ton of sense here. Is it turning like queen jack into a bluff? Probably not. Queen jack probably check calls the turn. Oh, he's gonna get
Wow.
paid here.
It looks like it. I'm trying to. He does get
Mike
paid.
pays. And when he sees a hand, he's gonna be sick because he had such a good spot for Mike on the flop.
That is a light hero call.
My opponent does make the call, which could be slightly loose, could be a little bit surprising, but happy to see that from my perspective. We're going to roll over our straight here, and we're going to drag in a pretty good pot here.
We're optimistic.
If we
perhaps.
want to continue with a hand on the river, we're blocking king queen. We only got second pair. We could shove as a bluff. I would
Yeah.
prefer that over hero calling, even though that is super spicy as well. I think that's one where the board is just too all over our opponent's range. We have to recognize that and probably fold the king jack. But all the Andrew fans are really, really happy as he gets paid.
Good analysis there, Kevin Martin.
Together. And it's headed by Rated GTO, our boy Ricky.
Yep.
And it's
Action continues in this hand in which Mike opens up king 10 of diamonds from under the gun. We flat ace jack suited next to act. Mike G comes along with 10-7 suited and rain delay, putting in the squeeze play with the ace 10 offsuit. Would much rather just take that hand down pre-flop rather than take this hand multi-way. It doesn't really play that well multi-way. So he puts in the squeeze. Mike R is deciding what to do, but he eventually decides on a call. I am happy to take 40% of a royal flush, the ace-high flush draw, to a multi-way pot. Mike G gets out of the way. So 3 ways to a flop. Little something for everybody here, and a lot of something for myself. Rain delay flops himself a gutter ball to the nuts, and he's got the initiative pre-flop. He's going to try and keep the initiative post-flop. He puts out a C bet with some outs, and it's not going to work, though. There's two very playable hands, two hands worth continuing behind him. Mike makes the call with his top pair hand, and it's over to us, and we have a little bit of a decision. Middle pair plus nut flush draw. I think a raise is certainly reasonable, but I decided a flat since I have a pair of jacks in my hand, and I don't need to turn it into a bluff right away. Sure, we can put pressure on some hands like the one Mike has here with King 10, but I also think there's going to be a lot of times where rain delay is continuing with Ace King, Pocket Kings, Pocket Jacks, Pocket Aces. We block a few of those hands, so that's the good news, but when we do get it in, I don't know if we're in that great a shape.
So rain delay checks, as you would imagine. He has 3% to win. Now it's on Mike, who has king with a weaker kicker.
And Mike doesn't really love his hand either because Andrew overcalled. You know, is Mike going to shove here? There's already 1.6k in the middle. Mike's in a miserable spot in a multi-way pot here. He currently has the best hand, but it's really hard for him to know that.
It's hard to not get it in here, though, because he's got under, like, or just a little more over half pot.
And he goes for it. And Andrew's going to call this, I imagine.
Turn is a total brick, unfortunately. It doesn't improve us at all. Good news is that rain delay gives up here. He decides to check it. Bad news is that Mike only has a little bit under $1,000, and that is well under the size of this pot. So seeing that I just flat called behind him, he's got to feel pretty comfortable, maybe not completely comfortable, but with his stack size, comfortable enough to where he's going to just want to go ahead and get the rest of his money in there, try and force out some draws. Mike does go ahead and jam the rest of his stack in somewhere around $900. A little bit of a decision again, but with the amount that stack is, the size of the bet compared to the size of this pot, and we're still very live. There's also going to be some times where we have the best hand here. Mike could easily have a Queen 10 suited hand. He could have some worse flush draws and is just trying to pick up the pot here. Going to have to continue here. We're going to be ahead or have great equity some reasonable percentage of the time. So I go ahead and make the call here, and rain delay is going to get out of the way. Unfortunately, we are up against the top pair hand, so we're going to have to improve. We decide to run it twice. 2 river cards, please, dealer.
$500 pot going to the river here. This is a monster hand. Andrew needs a spade or a jack or an ace. No, not going to do it.
Mike hangs on.
Oh, they might be running it twice here.
Oh, second board.
Oh, there's the spade.
They chop it up.
Chop it up.
Mike's thinking he wishes he ran it once.
Yeah, not so bad. They both make a little bit of money there. They chop up rain delay's money.
Andrew's okay with that result. To get half the pot there as a 2-to-1 underdog is really, really nice.
That was a favorable run out there.
Sometimes the 32% wins both, but
yeah,
that was a fun hand. That was a really, really, really fun hand.
Action hand too.
Yeah. Andrew has been crushing. Queens opens. Andrew sat down with 2K, right?
Andrew sat down with 2K.
Did he add on?
I don't think he did.
$3,000.
He must have won money while we were gone.
Yeah, he's crushing the game. Rain delay still has a huge stack.
It's funny because Andrew says he never runs good on live stream cash games, and he ran good when the stream wasn't on.
Yeah, exactly.
So he won a little bit more there.
There were the occasional technical difficulties with the stream, so unfortunately they missed one of, if not the biggest hand that I played. There was an early position raised to $35. There was a middle position call, and I was in the big blind with King 10 suited and go ahead and make a standard call from that position. The flop comes 10-10-4, so we flop trips with a really good kicker. I go ahead and check it, and the initial raiser bet's $45. Middle position player folds, and I go ahead and make a flat call since the board is so dry here. I'm not going to have any bluffs in this spot, I don't think. Turn is the 5 of clubs, which brings a flush draw on board. So when I check it, my opponent bets $120. Now I think I'm just going to go for some more value being on a position. I want to check raise, try and get some more money in there. So I make it $340 to go. My opponent calls, and the river brings an offsuit 6. So a pretty good run out here. I go ahead, try to get some more value, about $510, and my opponent makes the call. So great things are happening here in this live stream cash game session. Some hands, some run goods coming our way, and we are up. We're winning. We're winning in a live stream cash game.
And speaking of, wow, we're about to do some inception casting here.
Yep, it's happening.
It's happening.
This is too important.
We almost never let this happen, but for a cash game,
This
it's possible.
This is too important. This is too important.
We're being joined by the man himself,
Guys.
Andrew Neeme.
the table, but you're in here as well.
Yeah, forget that. It's too important. We have to
crushing the game out there, dude. You're doing really well. That's your stack.
We have to acknowledge what's happening here.
There it is.
All right, guys, it is true. We did it. We booked a solid win on a live stream cash game. We were into this game for $2,000 and we cashed out a profit of $3K. Feels good. Feels good, man. Definitely ran good in the early going, the first half of the game, especially with that Queen 9 of clubs hand versus King High clubs hand. Found a super favorable turn card. Yeah, a couple other great spots that went our way. So that's gonna be a wrap from here for today. Solid cash game session, makes up for the tournament loss plus some profit, and then back into the thick of it here at Run It Up Stone.